All right. Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to yet another episode of Starjump Shipyard, our chat show where we talk about spaceships and all their many forms within the universe of Star Citizen. Great to see you all piling in. Appreciate you taking time out of your day to hang out with us today. Should be fun. We're gonna have a little bit of a wondering discussion here. We talk about a few things actually. Obviously, we're going to talk about Invictus a lot. Obviously, that's a thing going on. No big mystery there. I'm going to take a look at my own fleet. Maybe you can take a look at it with me. And of course, we're going to talk about the Drake Kraken. I saw someone in chat, Akadioni, say, wait, more Kraken news. This is unusual. Two things. One, not unusual for this channel. Because the Kraken is my favorite ship, so I talk about it a lot. It's my favorite ship to talk about. Two, I've heard there's been a lot of discussion surrounding the Kraken ever since John Crew made that very brief announcement at the Chinese Bar Citizen. Um, out of all the stuff he talked about, the stuff that the community keeps kind of percolating on and asking me about is the Kraken. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that, specifically regarding its like reconcepting phase. But yeah, nice to see everyone in chat. Shimpasta, salute to you, Feathers. Got all the usual people piling in. Great to see everybody. Zachty says, I think it's more that Grim wants to do his own reconcepting of it since CIG confirmed. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. I mean, not so much my own reconcepting of it this time, although I usually do that. I think what we're doing today is looking at, um, you know, where the ship's currently at, which if you've ever watched my pre-recorded Shipyard episode, you've probably seen that. But taking a look at where the ship is at and ultimately what we think needs to be added, what we think may need to be changed. I've seen a lot of people speculate different things on the on the ship itself, and there's some things that I think are misconstrued, some things that I think are more likely that could happen with the ship. And remember, I think a lot of the times Shipyard focuses on big ships primarily because they're big investments. You know what I mean? And for me personally, I don't know about you all. I can only speak for me. If I'm talking about a ship like the Intrepid, a small starter ship, I don't need to speculate on it and tear it apart constantly because it's a low impact on my wallet personally. And it's something that I can buy if I need to, not buy if I need to, whatever. But big ships, like, when a ship gets up to a couple $100, you start have to really sort of think about those, right? And understand what you're buying. It's an investment at that point. And it even gets doubly so when you get up to like Kraken level, Idris level ships where you're putting out over $1,000. I think it's prudent to sort of tear those ships apart, look at them, what they have to offer, what needs to change, et cetera, et cetera. So, that being said, uh, Shizuku said you missed my live stream. Been on vacation. No worries, no worries. I got a vacation myself coming up in July. Looking forward to it. See, Botox Gaming, Kraken is my baby. It's perfect. Mine too. So, there's Starjump Ender. Hello, Ender. Hope you're doing well. Hope work is going okay. That is a great segue, actually, to the next thing I want to talk about. Everyone knows what this is. Real quick, we're going to get our top of show announcements out of the way. We're talking Starjump Guardians St. Jude initiative for the months of April and May. Now, so far, we are halfway through May, and we have raised, you can see it up there at the top, $16,235 for sick kids and their families at St. Jude Hospital. Again, this money coming directly to St. Jude. By the way, it does not come to Starjump at all. So anything you donate goes straight to St. Jude. That's an important thing, to remember. Now, one thing I'll go ahead and point out, those of you on YouTube, if you look to the link that is pinned to the top of chat now, that is the link you can donate. And if you're over on Twitch, you'll see the link up there via Stream Elements. You can donate now. We have a lot of raffles going on, but 3 Star Citizen specific raffles, okay? And I'll actually bring up my raffle schedule right now. We have an Anvil Hawk. If you do a $10 donation towards the Tiltify link, on May 13th, we'll be giving away an Anvil Hawk with LTI donated by our good buddy Bingo Winchester. On May 15th, with a $50 donation to that Tiltify link, you get a ticket for an Anvil Carrick with LTI for that drawing. That is donated by GearCon. And then on May 30th, with every $100 donation towards a Tiltify link, you will get an RSI Polaris Corvette raffle ticket. That does come with LTI, and that is donated by our good buddy GearCon. So big thank you to that. So we have these 3 going right now. Invictus is about to start, by the way, everyone, and we have more stuff to give away for Invictus. I have 3 more custom Fleet Viewer liveries to give away for Starjump Fleet Viewer and a couple of challenge coins, okay? So I was saving some of those challenge coins and some of the liveries for Invictus. I thought it would be just kind of nice to tie them in, but now that we're rolling up on Invictus, it's about to start get pretty interesting. So there you go. There's our currently active raffles. Please donate if you can. Again, it's been an incredibly successful event so far. I believe we've donated our lifetime donation or fundraising numbers are 32,678. That is, of course, over the last few years. And then our money raised so far this this April and halfway through May, so about 45 days, is about $16,235. So really appreciate that. Our goal this year is 20,000. Kind of a ambitious goal, but I still think we can get there. Again, community has been absolutely amazing. By the way, everyone, I'm a little bit sick today, so bear with me today as I stumble through today's information. Next thing I want to talk about is, let's go ahead and turn off the raffle information. Actually, you know what, real quick, one other thing. I want to do a big thank you to our raffle prize donators. GearCon, Bingo Winchester, who's in chat, Lazy Donuts, and James from Icon City. All of them have donated prizes that we were able to do these raffles for. So obviously we want to do a giant thank you to those 4 people, some of them in chat. So make sure you give the old 07. Appreciate that. Next, I want to talk about this one. I'm trying to hype this up for the team. Quantum Vegas 2955, fast approaching now, 60 days away, coming to you on July 12th, which is a Saturday. There's the link in chat. It's going to be a really great event. I will be there doing a panel discussion. Tickets are on sale now for $100, and you can find some really good deals to get out to Vegas, air travel and hotels. Really cheap, actually, right now, because Vegas is actually in a little bit of a down cycle because of the economy. So there's some really amazing deals there. But there's going to be CIG folks there. It's going to be a great time. Sean Tracy, the Senior Director of Tech Tools and Tech Content from CIG, will be there. And for those of you not familiar with Sean Tracy has been around from the beginning. He's one of the OG CIG people. He's been around from the very, very beginning. So that'll be really cool. I'm excited to meet him. Galactica and Tyler Witkin, also known as Xylo, will be there. But Paul Shelley, DePoets, Griffin Gaming, Commander Fran, EE Studios, Nick at Night, Serious Fun, and of course yours truly, Starjump Grim, all be in attendance doing panels or moderating of some sort. So hope to see you all there. Try to get your tickets if you're interested in going. Again, check the airfare, check the hotels. There's actually some really good deals going on right now. And I think, if you were apprehensive about maybe going simply because of the expense, which I understand is a real thing, but if that was a concern, look into it, because again, there's some really great deals out there. I was actually pretty surprised. All right, everybody. What are we talking about today? Well, we are talking a few things. We're going to be looking at the Drake Kraken. As you all know, John Crew recently mentioned in the CitizenCon, in the Chinese Bar Citizen event, which I will pull a link for that real quick for you, for those of you that have not seen it. He did a Bar Citizen event in China, where they did a pre-recorded episode, him and Jared, talking all about new ship info, game info, all that kind of good stuff. There was a ton of great info in there. But one of the things John mentioned was the Drake Kraken, specifically that the Kraken would probably be undergoing concept review, I think is the best way to refer to it, later this year or pretty soon. But either way, concept review for CIG is something they do anytime a ship is going from concept to active production. Okay, and there's different stages of active production, but essentially it's where they're going from concept to pre-production. Okay, pre-production is where they're starting to get the parts and pieces and the team assembled to even start production on the ship. Kraken is going to be a big, heavy lift. So it's going to be something that John and his team have to really plan for, and probably do a lot of concept discussions up front to make sure they are in a good place to start active production on the ship. So a lot of people I've seen talk about how, the ship's being completely reconcepted. What's it going to look like? I think it's going to look exactly the way it looks now. It's going to look like the Drake Kraken, but there's still a lot of stuff that needs to be rethought because the ship was concepted back in 2018. It's now 2025. That is 7 years later. A lot has changed in the game, and I think some scope has changed in the game. So I think CIG is going to look at the ship, some of its functionality, some of its features, and see where they need to push, pull, and trim to make the ship fit more properly in the game as we currently know it. Now, what I want to do today is I want to look at the interior, look at the cross-section, and have an active discussion with all of you and see where certain things should be added, what we think should change on the ship. For those that don't know, there are CIG devs and some CIG ship devs that will lurk and watch my streams from time to time. So you never know. Maybe some of our ideas will, flow down that river to the CIG dev team, and they'll take some of them under consideration if we have any good ideas. Who knows if we'll have any good ideas? I don't know. I have a few that I think we could talk through, just based off what the ship has sort of become at this point. So yeah, we're going to talk all about that. I also may look at my fleet as we're coming up on Invictus launch week. We're coming up to that time period where it's time to start looking at our fleets, looking what can possibly be melted. We're obviously gearing up on the Starjump Fleet Viewer side of things to get ships ready for Fleet Viewer integration. Not just the new ships, but also ships that are in Fleet Viewer right now that just desperately need updating. So if any of you have not been to Starjump Fleet Viewer, there is the link in chat. Make sure you check it out. I will show one ship, though, that is really cool. I'm excited to share it with you all. VMXEO, who I don't know if is in chat. I don't know if he's there. VMXEO, part of the Starjump Fleet Viewer team, of course, with all of his work on StarFab, is very close to having StarFab completely finished finally. I'm excited. I know he's excited. I want to cut over here and show you an image rendered out of StarFab, updated for 4.1 code base, and this is representative of the Starlancer TAC that will be going into Fleet Viewer. There it is, everybody, looking sexy. Everyone make sure, I'm not sure if he's in chat, but make sure VMXEO gets a definite salute for all of his hard work in getting StarFab ready for ship exporting for flight ready ships into Starjump Fleet Viewer. I think it's going to be a busy Invictus for him because I think a lot of the ships are flight ready ships this year. So I think he's going to have a busy year, or for a busy Invictus launch week this year. And again, there's a lot of ships that we technically need to update. We need to update the Zeus series. We need to update the Polaris. We've got the old model of the Polaris. So there's definitely some stuff that needs to happen there. But anyways, yeah, I thought he did fantastic work on this. Really beautiful render. The material and textures and everything on this ship just look fantastic. So really excited to get these into Fleet Viewer. The current Starlancer series of ships, the Max and the TAC that we have in Fleet Viewer, are very rough renders. I didn't put a lot of time and effort into them. So to finally get the proper ones into Fleet Viewer is going to be very, very exciting. So, okay, everyone, Are we ready to get started? I already see some ideas percolating about the Drake Kraken, so we're going to get into that. Don't forget, Invictus launch week starting in 2 days, 2 hours, okay? Starting on Thursday. Here comes my last top of show announcement. For those of you wondering if Starjump is going to be having, regular what you call Invictus coverage, the answer is yes. And to show that to you real quick, actually, let me go to it. Show that to you really quick. I've already got the first show up on the schedule. This one will be going. This will be covering day 1 and 2, essentially Grey Cat and Aegis. So we're going to cover all the news there on that Thursday. Currently have this scheduled for midday Thursday, but may push it to Thursday evening, which just seems more likely, so that can maybe get a few star jumpers on there, and also that allows us to sort of take in the day's news and get our thoughts together and do a proper show that night to sort of dissect everything that is happening on that first day. And that could be everything from obviously the Grey Cat MTC launching, possibly the Idris. We'll talk about that a little bit. Possibly the Idris, but also we may see things go on sale such as PDC turret options, flight blades, all that kind of stuff, whether they're going to be sold in game, out of game, or both. There may be new armors and ship and armor weapon packs, all that kind of crap. So we're going to go through all that good stuff. It's going to be fun. And then, of course, there'll be the whole limited waves that day for the Aegis, Idris P, and Aegis Javelin Destroyer. Already have the first show up here. I'm going to try to get the rest of the Invictus scheduled out for everyone because I know people are curious if we were covering it. Absolutely, we will. Obviously, want to tie that into our St. Jude stuff. So, okay. All right, everybody, are we ready to get to it? We are talking about, let's go into it here. We're going to add this ship here. The Kraken and the Kraken Privateer, because one thing you know is if they're going to reconcept one, they're going to be looking at both, even if both do not go into production at the same time. Okay. I think they'll both go into production at the same time, but essentially the Privateer might get sort of mothballed a little bit or put up on a shelf until the proper gameplay is online for it. But essentially what we're talking about here, everybody, is the Drake Kraken. For those that don't know, the Drake Kraken is a light carrier, or a light attack carrier. I've seen it called before. The name has changed a little bit here and there over the years. I refer to it as a light support carrier. Primarily the ship is attractive to most people, I think. The ship is attractive to a lot of people out there in the Star Citizen community because it is the most flexible of the capital ships. When you take into account the capital ships that are kind of out there that we currently know about, the Pioneer, the Hull D&E, let's see if I can the Idris, the Javelin, the excuse me, I'm a little sick today, everyone. Sorry. And then there's one more. I'm forgetting. What's the other capital? I'm forgetting. The Banu Merchantman, stuff like that. When you really look at what all those ships do, let's take the Hull series, for example. The Hull series primarily transports cargo. It will get a little bit more flexible as time goes on when the grav plating is able to take on more stuff other than cargo. Essentially, it's a cargo ship. That's what it does, right? Lady Space Patrol says, did we see a sneak peek of the Kraken coming up in the Levki hull on October 2024? Yes, we did, Lady Space Patrol, and I'm glad you brought that up because we're going to talk about two things, the Levki hull and that Kraken. I have some information that may not be widely known about those. It's not secret or anything, insider knowledge. It's just knowledge that a lot of people forget. Actually, one of them is a little bit insider knowledge, and we'll get to that in a minute. But it may illuminate some things for you on that specific shot that we saw at Citizen Con in regards to Levki. Don't close the Levki hole, please. We need it gaping. That's true. But regardless, the whole series ship stuff. The Pioneer build stuff. The Idris and the Javelin, they're primarily warships, right? They're built around that. Now, there is some flexibility built into the Idris for sure. It is considered a carrier ship, much like the Kraken, but of course with its internal closed hangar, that does make it a little bit more limited on what ships it can carry, right? So it's got certain ships it can carry, certain ships it can't carry based off that overall height, right? So just something to keep in mind there. And bear with me, everyone. I may get a few messages here. But where the Kraken excels is its open deck concept, and that's why I think for a lot of the people that are a little concerned about a possible reconcept hitting the exterior of the ship, I don't think you really need to be too concerned, because the ship itself is really what makes it special is its open deck concept and the fact that ships of any height can land here. I'll give you a good example. The Corsair, another Drake ship, is really the perfect on deck ship for the Kraken. With its wings that are able to fold up vertical, it lowers its landing profile. While it's still technically a large ship, it still allows it to land comfortably on the deck with plenty of room to spare. So again, but you can never fit the Corsair into the Idris. So again, it's just added flexibility. So what that ultimately means is that the Kraken can support military operations, but it can also support industrial operations. It can support, racing operations. It can really support anything that you want to do in the game because of the flexibility built into the ship's design, right? So yeah. Nacho says, Grim, looking for reassurance once again. Do you see the Idris being the loaner for the Kraken should it go ready to fly? I do think if the Idris P goes flight ready at this year's Invictus, I think it's highly likely it'll become the loaner for the Kraken. The only reason I don't say a definite is for two reasons. One, they may want to keep they may want to give Kraken owners flexibility in terms of giving them multiple smaller loaners to accomplish various things. So, for example, I could see when the Ironclad comes out, the Ironclad becomes a loaner for the Kraken along with a smaller ship like a Buccaneer or whatever. Now, I do think it does make sense for the Idris to be the loaner for the Kraken. 100% think that makes sense. So, hopefully, we'll see that. But ultimately, I don't want to commit to that fully because CIG may want to keep it a little bit more flexible for the Kraken owners and give them a few smaller ships that can accomplish different goals. Whether it's the Caterpillar and the Buccaneer and another ship or whatever, they may want to mix and match. However, if you go by what CIG has done in the past, generally they want to give you an approximate equal ship. So I could see the Idris definitely becoming the Kraken loaner. I was told. Now, I don't know if this is true. I was told that people that had a Polaris as a loaner for the Kraken had that Polaris loaner removed for a day off the live servers, and they were wondering if that had maybe some correlation to perhaps the Idris getting a new loaner ship. I really couldn't tell you. I'm not sure if they were just seeing things or what. So, but anyways, yes, we're going to dig into this, and we're going to figure out if there's anything that we think would be cool to be switched around and stuff. So I guess you could say reconcepted to some degree, right? Okay, let's go ahead. One thing I am going to do real quick, though, since we're talking about it, right? Why not? Is I thought we should watch the Kraken commercial because it's been a while since I've watched it, and I would like to see it again because this is what the ship was sold on. I think it's always good to sort of go back to the beginning, right, and take a look at how the ship was essentially sold. So let me pause this here, bring this tab over, and we'll hit play. Hey Zotob, hope you're well.
it's ours. I'll make this easy for you. Leave now, or we kill you. I'm happy either way.
Yeah, this is one of the best intros. Hey, Angry PC Tech. Salute to you, buddy.
For something new. Something to change the game. When seeking fortunes at the fringes of civilization, you need someone you can trust. In this age of uncertainty, it's time to take back your strength. It's time to release the Kraken. Drake Interplanetary. We got your back.
Yeah, it's a great commercial. Obviously, they show the Kraken in full battle mode there, but what I could see an eventual flight-ready commercial for the Kraken, you know, when it is eventually finished, is I could say, oh, Riggsy just donated $10. Riggsy, thank you very much for unlocking a new toy for St. Jude, kicking off some donations today. Riggsy, salute to you, buddy. Hope you're well. I know we had some issues getting Riggsy set up with poster material, but we're working on it. Yeah. Yes. Thank you for that donation. Pretty much, I think the first donation of the day. Am I right here? Yep. Kicking it off. Thank you, Riggsy. Appreciate it. Yeah. So obviously the Kraken, I think a future commercial would be centered more around its flexibility, right? So I could see a commercial. Remember how the Polaris commercial switched from preparing the ship for the mission, and then obviously the ship going on the out in the mission. Yoko, thank you for the follow. Salute to you. Sending the javelin overhead today. But you remember how it kind of kept switching between the two states? I could see a future commercial for the Kraken being very similar, where you know, there's a moment where you're seeing it in battle, then it switches to a moment where you're seeing it in Urugak. Hopefully I said that right. That's a hard one. Uru, thank you very much for the follow. Thank you. Appreciate that support, everybody. But I could see the commercial flipping from combat to an industrial thing, towards more of a peacekeeping thing, more of a support thing, being more as a marketplace, whatever. I could see it being a lot of those different things. So yeah. Let's go ahead and kind of start talking about what we think here, and I think let's start. Let's start with the first question here. I sort of see it down there. Let's start with the exterior, right, and then we'll sort of move to the interior. Let's bring up another Kraken here because I think we need to see this thing from a couple of different angles. We have this amazing tool called Starjump Fleet Viewer that's really going to help us out on this one. There we go. We can see it in a couple angles here. All right, so let's go ahead and lock our canvas. We'll move the privateer off because we're not talking about it quite yet. Ender, who made this tool? Well, that is a great question, Ender. Starjump Fleet Viewer is a little bit, I got to take credit on this one, a little bit of my brainchild idea. I thought it would be really cool to have to use the ships from the Starjump cinematics and use them in some sort of fleet viewer tool. If anyone is curious what the first fleet viewer image looked like when I was sort of concepting the idea, when I was sort of figuring out what it would be, does anyone want to see that? Because it looked a little different. I can show you what the first fleet viewer image I ever rendered was, and this is it. It looks a little different. It had, whoops, that's not what we want to do. It had a thing where it was going to be like shadows on the floor. It was going to be kind of glossy surface. But this is kind of like what it looked like. It was originally called, you can't see it back here, but it was called Fleet Picks. So that was originally concepted to be. But it doesn't look too far from where it ended up, right? It was mostly this. But yeah, again, a lot of planning went into it. A lot of planning. I had to build measurement tools like this to figure out in all the views to figure out how long the ships would be, how they would work, all that kind of good stuff. It was definitely it was a very interesting project when I didn't know. It was here's another good example of the pre-planning for it. This is back when I was just calling it the fleet visualizer. um, and again, looking at tile systems and how we could build this stuff out, how those tiles could stack. You can sort of see here. I was even thinking about early UI for this. This was before even Starlet and VMXEO got involved in it. But again, starting to look at how things would come together. And as if you look, I still had the idea of front, top, profile, and perspective views, which is something we have in Fleet Viewer now. I used to think that we'd base it off this tile system, which didn't really come to fruition, but it's still kind of interesting. Here's some initial target renders, etc. What it would look like in 3D using 3D camera angles instead of isometric view. So again, shows you some of the pre-planning that goes on with some of this stuff. And there's been several Starjump projects that have started that way, never gotten off the ground or whatever. Because sometimes you get in those pre-planning phases and suddenly go, holy shit, this is really difficult to do. So, but anyway, all right, let's take a look at the Kraken. I want to talk about the exterior first. We may bring the ship up in 3D as well to inspect it a little better. Let's talk about the guns on the ship right now. As a matter of fact, we probably should bring it up in 3D. If we're going to really inspect the guns, we better bring it up in 3D. Chat, I'm maneuvering some windows around here. Bear with me. Yeah, we're going to look at the inside, although there isn't really an inside yet, but we're gonna take a look at the inside regardless. Let me bring up the Kraken. All right, bear with me, everybody. I'm bringing it up now. Okay, let me switch us over to the different monitor. All right, everybody. Here it is, the mighty Kraken. No, I'm just kidding. This is the baby Kraken. This is something I was playing around with because I was bored. This is not my idea for a reconcept. I just loved how short and stubby it looked. This is the baby Kraken. Though we all know the baby Kraken is the ultimate ship in the verse. Though no one will mess with this little thing. I don't know. I actually think it could work, believe it or not. It is shorter than the base Kraken. But anyway, I just had to show it. Too good. All right, we're going to get off that. We're going to go to the big Kraken now, the real Kraken. Let me scale a few things up here. The Kraken. Yeah, it's the Kraken, everybody. Here we go. Okay, so let's take a look at the armament of the ship because I think that is a good place to start, okay? So, the ship's got a couple of weapons spread throughout. Maybe you can all help me chat. But we've got a dual size 8 up here at the nose. Yes, that is a dual size 8. Remember, that is essentially what is going to be on the both top and bottom of the RSI Perseus if the stuff out of Beijing is to be believed. So we'll have a big, massive size 8 dual. I can't remember if they said this is an energy weapon or ballistic weapon. Doesn't matter. That stuff could change. Currently, we have dual size. I believe these are dual size 6 on top and bottom over here. So one underneath and one up top. A lot of people don't know this either. I'm going to turn this off, but currently the Kraken has a hatch right here. A lot of people don't know that up near the nose there's a hatch to access the front port. I think it's like a big elevator that comes down. I don't know if CIG will continue that, but yeah. So we have 2 dual size 6s on the top and bottom there on the spine. Moving down on the ship, we actually don't have any armament anywhere on the midsection of the ship at all. Although you can be guaranteed that this ship is going to get an absolute ton of point defense cannons on it, and I'm sure they'll be all around here. There'll probably be some point defense cannons on these long arms up here for the docking collars and stuff. All right, so when we get back here, we have a dual size 6 up top here. I believe this is dual size 6. Chat, correct me if I'm wrong on that. I believe it's dual size 6. I don't get too focused on all the individual gun sizes, and I'll be honest with you, the reason I don't do that is because it could change. It could change in concept. It very well could get upgunned. I actually can see that happening with the Kraken, and again, we're gonna talk a little bit about that. They'll change. They'll all change anyway. Yeah, Scissor Fuzz is exactly right. So I do never. Well, what's the right way to say this? I never buy ships based off numbers. That's kind of a rule for me. I'm sure you all have your own rules, and they're all valid. Do what you need to do. For me, I do not buy ships based off numbers. So stats, roll, maneuvering, DPS, how many guns it has, any of that stuff. I don't buy ships based off their numbers or stats at all. I only buy them for their role. If the role is something I'm interested in, John Crew has said it himself, the role will not change. The role will always be what it is, but other things on the ship could change and adjust to switch to the game. Take, for example, the Pioneer. How the Pioneer builds has completely changed, but it is still a base builder, right? So you really should buy it on the role and the size. So if you're like, I want to base build, and I want to base build at the capital level, that extra large level, then the Pioneer is a ship you need, right? If you want to base build and you want to base build at a medium level, you just want to set up a lot of little medium bases, then the CSV-FM is going to be your ship, okay? So I don't get too caught up in all the numbers here on the weapons, but there's a couple things we can look at here. So we have the one on top here. This one is sort of your rear-facing gun. And then on both sides, starboard and port, we have this dual top and bottom gun mount here. These are both currently manned. However, what I see happening is these possibly going to remote turrets. I could see that happening. Currently, they have these as manned, and they've even showed this in their original Around the Verse sitcom presentation. But I could see these possibly going remote. And then I don't think, and then on the other side, you have the same thing, the same two guns over here. So that's currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and sorry, I'm moving all around, 7, and then 8. So there's currently 8 turrets on this thing that I can see. I don't think I've missed one. It's a little hard to know sometimes, though, because the way these ships export out, and I think now's a good time we can talk about the Levki shot from CitizenCon. So a lot of people saw the Levki shot where the Kraken is coming out of the big Levki borehole, right? And I remember seeing a lot of people say, "Oh my gosh, the Kraken's almost done." Let's see here. 1 second. Hold on a minute. Bear with me, everybody. I just have a few things I'm looking at. But essentially, what people were actually seeing is the cinematic model. So for those that don't know, most ships that are concept ships get a holo model. Okay. For Fleet Viewer, we pull those holo models and from the RSI website, we rip them directly off. We do custom textures on them to match the concept art, and then we integrate them into Fleet Viewer. For the Kraken is uniquely different. The Kraken, when it went on its concept shell, because it was the biggest ship CIG had put up for concept sale in a long time at that point, when they knew it was going to be expensive, they made a full-on cinematic commercial for it, the trailer we just watched shortly ago. Because of that trailer, they had to build a full game-optimized model of the Kraken. Well, they didn't have to build a game-optimized one, but they did. And the game-optimized model does not have an interior. It is exterior only. It has, and it has been optimized to run in engine. Okay, so maybe I shouldn't say game optimized, but it can run in the engine. It can be spawned in the verse. People have done this in the past, namely Sir Piggles. For those that know Sir Piggles, but that ship is what you see in that Levski demo. Okay, it is the cinematic model coming out. CIG put it in there because what I think they were trying to do was show you a sense of or give you a sense of scale surrounding that borehole. They were trying to say, hey, look, this is a big borehole. You're going to be able to fly capital ships through it. Not so much like, hey, look, the Kraken's almost done. Actually, if you go back and look at a lot of gameplay ship trailers from CIG, they actually use the Kraken a lot. They've used it in IAE stuff with Jax McCleary. They've used the Kraken in both the Scorpius and Terry's commercials. And it's popped up in some other places. Obviously, the Levski demo. So, yeah. Let's see. So, it ultimately, the Kraken is one of those ones where when people see it out in the verse, they immediately think, hey, this thing is pretty much done. When in actuality, in actuality, it hasn't really gone into production yet. Now, there is an argument to be made that perhaps the exterior is 70% there, right? Because they have this game-ready exterior mesh. That's probably true, but it has been 7 years since that mesh, and it will more than likely need to be updated to some degree. Okay, going back to the mesh here. This is the cinematic model. This is the model. This is the model that you are seeing in that Levski demo from CitizenCon. So when you see the Kraken rise out of it, when you see the Kraken appear in the Scorpius commercials, this is the Kraken right here. This is the one you're seeing. It is a cinematic model. We have it in Blender from the game files. It's been in the game files for a long time. It's been in there since 2018, actually. So it is very, very detailed. I think Sir Piggles on several streams has like toured around the Kraken because he's been able to spawn it in an offline version of the world. Sisters of Battle, hello, hope you're well. Everyone, make sure you go check out Sisters of Battle's YouTube channel. They do a lot of great Starjump content, or Starjump content. Oh my God, I'm losing my mind, everybody. They do a lot of good Star Citizen content. So they have a great thing, dad and daughter type focus Star Citizen content, which really appealed to me when I was watching it. Those of you know, I have a young daughter who's big into gaming. She really thinks Star Citizen is cool too, although she doesn't really play it, but she's still pretty young. So I really was attracted to that content. So make sure you go check out their channel. Some really good stuff there. Do I have a video of the Sir Piggles stuff? Let me check. I thought I did. Let me check. I might. I would probably need to get it from. Let's see. Let me look here. Let's take a look, shall we? Let's take a look. Let's take a look. I don't know if we have. Oh, yep, I do have it. Let me pull it up. Everybody, bear with me. Give me just a second. This is from Info Runners. Sir Piggles was on there with our good buddy Execute. Those of you know Execute. And they were bringing up the Kraken in a offline version. So you can see it here. We'll let that play in the background. But it looks like Execute's right over my shoulder, by the way, which is scaring me a little bit. But here they have the ship spawned up in world, and you can kind of see it how it would look in game with the in-game lighting and all that kind of good stuff. So let me fast forward a little bit here. It's where they're actually touring around it a little bit. So there you go. They're actually moving around. Again, this is an offline version. You can't actually do this. It's frowned upon. so, so there you go. I'll give you. But again, this is that model you saw in Levski, okay? And bring the. I think there was a Corsair sitting on the deck. This is the one you saw. It's got some reflection issues on it. I love the texture work on it. This is a little bit compressed too. Am I running compressed? Let's make sure I'm running 1080 here. Yeah, it's a little compressed. He goes around to the back though. You can see the engines running. There you go. But it gives you a sense, right, of just how massive this ship is, what it would look like in the game engine with the Star Citizen lighting, and how it holds up. Again, the camera's able to freely move. So again, this is a an exterior mesh that that is engine optimized to run in the Star engine, right? See the big docking collars there, big cargo bay there down at the bottom. And again, this is Sir Piggles just doing a sort of tour around the ship here. It's a monster though. It's a monster. We go here on the actual flight deck. Again, it's this is weird. It's like executes right behind me. But there you go. You can see getting down to the guardrails. Again, looking off on the deck here. It gives you a sense of if you were standing on the flight deck, what that's going to look like. It's a pretty sizable landing pad, again, for those that have ever wondered. Here's the smaller pads over here. You can see each one of those has a hangar here that you can go into, sort of like an individual hangar that gets you to the inside of the ship. Again, this is a monster, an absolute monster. Yeah, Execute's watching over me right now. It is freaking me out a little bit. The current cinematic model, you'll notice up here this turret has no guns on it. The current cinematic model, when you export it, doesn't have any guns, just FYI. So again, going out, you can see this front turret too. I believe this is the dual size 8 that's mounted up here. Also, there is no gun on there. I don't even think we have dual size 8s right now. So that's a good reason why there are no guns mounted on it. For the cinematic, I think they just threw some guns on there and sized them up, by the way. I think here in a second they do bring, again, going down. They're going down towards, I think, the main entryway on the main deck. There's an entryway on the port side of the ship, and I think they go to that here in just a second. Again, showing it in scale next to a caterpillar. You can see that the caterpillar is just very small compared to this thing. So yeah, it kind of gives you an idea there of the size difference between the two ships. No giant mystery there. Going back around here to, this is the right under the bridge, right underneath the bridge, there is an entryway door right there. You can see it said Drake on it. That door takes you interior to the bridge. Sisters of Battle says, so what is the size of the Bengal shipbuster guns? The Goliath guns? Yeah, those are, I forget which size they are. I thought I heard one time they're like size 16s or something like that. But I don't quote me on that. I'm not sure. Size huge, as Peak says. Yeah, that's accurate. That's accurate. Again, this ship has an incredible amount of detail, so I personally hope this exterior doesn't change much. I think it'll get a lot more detailing and stuff like that. But we can't use this video to really pull turret location data because, again, there's supposed to be a turret right here, and it's not there because the turrets are sort of missing from this, unfortunately. One thing I will say, though, is that when Execute and Algrid talked to John Crew and Ben Curtis, they were really excited to get to work on this ship. So this is something they're excited to do as well. Let's see here. John Franklin says, "Rest in peace, Nautilus." Okay, Loner Polaris for 1.0 beyond. Yeah, so yeah, possibly. And the Nautilus isn't dead. By the way, I mean John Crew clarified that as soon as mind gameplay is developed and to be put into the game, the Nautilus will be a focus at that point. He didn't say it was dead or anything. It's waiting on features like so many other ships. But let's go back to our model here. So let's talk about armament. We know that this ship is probably going to get a ton of PDCs. I could see at least that'll be one of the first big things I think that gets reconcepted on the ship is its PDC armament. For a ship the size of this, I think the Idris is getting, chat, correct me if I'm wrong, is the Idris getting like 12 PDCs? I think it has 12, if I'm not mistaken. If the Idris is getting 12, I would surmise that the Kraken is probably going to get 10 to 12 PDCs as well. The Kraken is technically longer than the Idris by a decent amount. The Idris is 242 meters long. The Kraken is 270 meters long. So I would surmise it would get some additional maybe an additional 2 PDCs to sort of cover it, especially its rear side, which is pretty left open. Rear and underneath is pretty open on the Kraken, and I think it needs quite a bit of PDC coverage on the bottom. This here, Wild Ace GDV says, no, Christoph, the Kraken has twin size 8. That's correct. So this gun here at the very front is a dual size 8 right here. Dual size 8 turret here on the front. Currently it's shown as a remote turret, by the way, a remote turret. But ultimately, does this ship need A, to be upgunned, and B, does it need any sort of missile or torpedo support? So I'm curious what everyone thinks. I'll say this. I don't think this ship needs to have any sort of torpedo support at all. There's military ships to handle that. We have plenty of torpedo-based ships, the Perseus, the Polaris, and what have you, and I think more coming. What I think the Kraken needs to rely on is probably just guns. And if it does have missiles, I think those should be turret replacements for guns, okay? So while, yes, I am a big Kraken fan, a ship can't have everything, right? So what I would love to see, Rhino just donated $10 to help unlock a new toy for St. Jude. Rhino, thank you very much. Salute to you. Appreciate that generosity. Everyone who's donated towards the St. Jude stuff, everyone, by the way, we really appreciate that. It goes a long way. And by the way, thanks for the turnout today, too. Just took a look. 225 watching on YouTube and 78 over on Twitch. So that's great to see. Thank you, everybody. But thank you for those donations. We really, really appreciate it. If you want to donate, by the way, you can donate in confidence via the link. The Tiltify links popping up in chat. And if you're on YouTube, they're pinned to the top of chat. Do not forget, everyone, with our raffle right now, we have a few ships going we're having raffles for. The first one's an Amble Hawk with LTI. If you do a $10 donation to the Tiltify link, we're going to do that donation or that drawing on May 13th. And if you do a $50 donation to our Tiltify link on May 15th, again, we'll do an Amble Carrick with LTI drawing. And then on May 30th, we'll do an RSI Polaris Corvette drawing. That is a $100 donation to our Tiltify link. That gets you a raffle ticket, okay? You don't have to watch the stream to win. We're just going to do the drawing on those days, and we will contact the person via email. It's all done randomly through the big wheel of names. It is for a good cause. Again, that money does not come to St. Jude. It goes directly to, that money does not come to Starjump. It goes directly to St. Jude. You can tell I've had too much cold medicine today, everyone. I'm half stoned out of my mind. But money goes directly to St. Jude. It's 100% pass through. You donate to Tiltify, and then Tiltify directs that money directly to St. Jude. So it does not come to Starjump in any way. We don't handle it. Don't want to handle it. So, but it's been great. Thank you all for your generosity during the initiative as well. Mink says, feel better and stay stoned. I will try. I'm on some cold medication this morning. I'm on a little bit of cold medication. We're getting through it. Okay, I'm hanging in there. My words are all over the place, a little bit more than usual today, but I appreciate you all bearing with me. So yeah, hold on one second here, reading a couple questions from chat. Okay, so let's see here. All right, so let's go back to our ship here. So the real question is, without torpedo support, the real question becomes one. Rigsy says, "Are you drawing Grim since it's the 14th and also no?" So and I don't know when we do the drawings. Based off our time. So for example, let's go back to the schedule again. It's the Anvil Hawk is today. I don't know if I'm supposed to be doing the drawing today. Maybe Ender. Oh no, Ender's doing the drawing tonight because he does D&D tonight. Starjump Ender will do the drawing tonight on his channel because he does D&D tonight. So that'll give everybody the full day to donate. And then perhaps I'll do the May 15th donation or a raffle drawing on my stream, the Anvil Carrick. And we'll see. We kind of do it randomly, who's ever available. I like to do the drawings on Ender's channel when we can, though, because again, the Starjump Guardians Play Live initiative was really started by Ender, so I like when the drawings are on his channel and during his streams, just to sort of keep it consolidated. But ultimately, we just do whatever's convenient. So if I have a stream that night that a drawing is supposed to happen, then we'll do it on mine. I really like, though, if I'm doing them on mine, I really like it to be where both me and Ender are on there, though, to do it. So we'll see. We'll see. Glutrino. That's a new donator. Glutrino donated $10 for a new toy for the hospital players. Thank you very much, Glutrino. Appreciate that. We have a $50 donation from Shimsky, did I get that right? For art supplies for St. Jude and towards the Anvil Carrick with LTI. Thank you, everybody who's donated today. Rigsy, Rhino, Glutrino, and Shimsky. Really appreciate that generosity, so really appreciate it. Oh, there's Ender in chat. Sorry, I had a window blocking you. He says, yes, I'm doing the 15th. So, yeah, so Ender's probably going to be doing the Anvil Hawk giveaway. By the way, Hawk's really cool ship, one of my favorites. It looks like a Decepticon. What's not to love? Giving that away tonight on his D&D stream. Make sure you tune in for that. Ender can pop the channel down there, or I'll pop his channel down there in just a second. And then on the 15th, possibly we'll do the Anvil Carrick drawing on my channel, or it'll be Ender's channel. We'll see as we get closer to the 5th. Well, the 15th is in 2 days. Oh my gosh, that's Thursday. That's Invictus launch. Oh, you know what? We'll do the Carrick giveaway. We'll do the Carrick drawing when we do our Invictus Day 1 show. Which me and Ender will both be on. We'll do that show that night, and we'll do the Anvil Carrick. That'll be a great way to kick off Invictus, actually. I didn't even think about that. So, awesome. I'm excited. I'm excited. Rage 1 just donated $60. Rage 1's been absolutely incredible with the donations, buying that Anvil Carrick ticket with his donation. Rage 1, giving you the old double salute because you've been incredibly generous over the course of the last 45 days with your donation. So thank you very, very much. Appreciate it. All right, everyone, we are back to the Kraken. Let's click back over here. So the real question here is, do we think this ship needs to be upgunned? And by upgunned, meaning, do we think it needs to get size 9s put on it, size 10 guns? Do we think that some of these size 6 turrets need to be changed out to size 8? Here's what I think. I actually think the current gun armament on the Kraken is already good. I don't necessarily think it needs to be upgunned in any way, but what I do think is I think it needs an additional turret or two, primarily one on the bottom. So let's go here. We're going to go to our turrets. We're going to take this turret. We're going to duplicate this turret. We're going to move it down. Here it is. We're going to rotate it. Okay, we're going to rotate it upside down. And we are going to put it somewhere. Let's see. Let's find a place for it. Figment just donated $100 to unlock a red wagon for St. Jude. Figment, thank you very much. Salute to you. Appreciate that. Thank you very, very much. Salute to you and your generosity. We really appreciate it here at Starjump. Absolutely amazing. All of you have just been incredible. So thank you very much. This money will go and really help a lot of children in need at St. Jude, their families dealing with cancer. It's I can't imagine a worse thing. So again, your money is going to help them, and that's a big deal. Yes, I could see a turret possibly going there, and possibly, if not there, then possibly another turret here. Now, it would be somewhat blocked by the cargo bay, but I could see a turret possibly in this area, maybe extended down, or maybe it extends down to shoot, something like that. Again, it is a big ship with a lot of blind spots, so it needs that sort of coverage. And that's my thinking. But I don't think anything needs to be upscaled to like size 8s across the board or anything like that. But what I do think we should be able to do is any and all of these turrets, I would hope, can be replaced, and we're seeing this a little bit now in the Invictus halls, that maybe we'll be able to replace some of these manned turret positions with manned missile pod or missile launcher turrets. So we saw on the Idris K kit how there's a size, I forget what it is, size 3, size 4, size 5. Anyways, the size 5 dual gun up at the top nose can actually get replaced with a missile launcher manned turret. So I think that would be really cool. All right, so a little bit about armament. I think they'll make some adjustments, but I don't necessarily know what their thinking is in terms of how much they want the Kraken to be a frontline fighter. Ultimately, though, it is a Kraken ship. Star Citizen is very combat oriented, so it's going to be able to hold its own to some degree, right? Let's talk about the next thing from the exterior that's important. It's flight deck. I've seen a couple people with ideas regarding the flight deck, so let's go ahead and talk about that. Now, the number one that I hear are these smaller pads over here. Now, for those curious, I'm going to rotate the light around here because our light is on the opposite side. Let me rotate it around. There we go. So if you look down at these pads, you can see there is a door there. There's these doors for each pad has a hangar door right here that you can go down into this ship with. Okay, so right down in here. Okay, that's how you do it. Each one of them has it, so you can see pad. This is pad 4. Pad 4 has one. Rough Gaming just donated $60 towards the Anvil Carrick with LTI. Thank you very much, Rough Gaming. Salute to you. You've been absolutely incredible with donations as well. Rough Gaming has been donating quite a bit towards this endeavor, and we greatly appreciate him and his generosity. So thank you very much. GearCon just cheered 100 bits. Thank you, GearCon. GearCon obviously donating a lot of the ships that we are giving away. Bingo Winchester donating the Hawk that Ender will be giving away tonight. The Anvil Carrick and the RSI Polaris coming up later this month. Well, one in a couple days and one at the end of the month. Donated by our good buddy GearCon down in chat. Make sure you give him a 07. So, each one of these pads, again, has... oops, one second, everybody. Work chat just came in. Okay, there we go. So each one of these pads 1 through 4, does have the hangar deck. So there is some sort of like, as part of the overall design, there is some sort of like separation thing going on here, right? I think that's intentional. Whenever you go in here, I think there's some sort of like general storage room when you go in, and then these doors lead to a central causeway. That central causeway goes down the middle of the ship here. Again, there's no interior, but kind of goes through the middle of the ship there, running all the way back to the bridge. There's the whole air car. Everything's have heard, you know, the air car that transports you through the length of the ship and stuff. Everyone's sort of heard of that, and we'll go over that in a minute. But I hear a lot of people talk about, well, what if it didn't have these individual pads and it just had another big pad? So we can look at that. To do that, we're going to have to dive into the model real quick, and we got to start turning some stuff off. Okay, so we got to turn off a few things. Let's get these support structures here that we will need to, you know, we're going to leave those on. We're going to go to our main pad, and we're going to nope, I did that the wrong way. We're going to duplicate the main pad. We're going to bring it over, and we are going to flip it along the y-axis here. Because again, I've had people ask about this, and let's, for shits and giggles, let's move it. Let's switch her around here. see if we can make it fit in the most logical way. Let's say if it was something like that, right? It does change the profile quite a bit, but it would give you a multiple deck over here. Now it's too high. We do want to bring it down so it can have access to those individual entryways there. But if you bring it down to something like that, then you would still have access to the individual areas there. Maybe that would work. What do you think, chat? Yes or no? Something like that. Let's render that up real quick here and take a look at what this monstrosity looks like. There may be people from CIG watching going, oh my god, what is going on here with the Kraken? Let's render it up. Riggsy says, yeah, that looks cool. Jeremy says, I like it. You know, I prefer the 4 smaller pads. I like the individuality of those. Someone can land and have a little pad all to themselves, but I am completely open to trying this out and seeing what we cook up here. Yeah, I like the OG concept as well. I mean, again, it's my favorite ship, I think, from looks and function. So I'm not proposing we change it, but a lot of people have asked about the pads becoming 2 larger pads like this to fit more ship, you know, a wider cross section of ships. So that's what we're trying here. It's just it's an experiment. It's an experiment. Let's see here. The Kraken is Drake's answer to the Polaris. It's a militia carrier, not just civilian pirate. So yeah, I look at this as the answer to Drake's answer to the Idris, essentially. And I think that the goal of the Kraken is for militia use, for sure. I think it's part of that initiative. It's meant to up the throughput that militias can offer on the battlefield and up their abilities. Because again, the UE is spread so thin that against the Vandal threat, the thinking there was that these bigger warships, these bigger capital ships need to be opened up to the civilian market. So there you go. There is what a Kraken would look like if it had 2 big decks. Again, not saying this is what they should do, but this is sort of what that would look like. Obviously, it becomes a much sort of different ship there in terms of its overall profile, but still overall has the feel of the Kraken, right? What is this piece here? There's a piece that is, I don't know what this piece is. Let me check something real quick, everybody, since we're digging around in here. There's something causing a reflection. I don't really know what it is, but I'm very curious on what it is. I want to see if I can eliminate it. No, it's not that. Is it this? No, it's not that. It's got to be this. Yeah, there it is. So this thing, where is... Bear with me, everybody. Killed that one, and...
Thank you.
Uh-oh, what just happened? Sir Thaddeus just donated $50. Thank you very much. Appreciate that going towards art supplies, I believe. Let me switch over to my better window here. For art supplies for St. Jude and towards the Anvil Carrack. Thank you very much, Sir Thaddeus. Really appreciate that. Love the name. Feel like that every day. Appreciate you very much. So yeah, there is what the Kraken would look like with the dual deck thing. Ultimately, though, it's one of those things where it's probably just not necessary, right? If we go back to our original concept here, I think one thing that one aspect of the individual pads that brings a little bit of uniqueness to this ship is the sense of individual place that if a pilot lands here, let's say you're operating the what do you call it, the privateer, right? And let's say you're landing on the privateer because you're going to do some business in its shops, right? Then when you land, you have sort of this cordoned off space for your ship. No one else is really wandering over here, meandering it. If someone comes in to land, they've really got to target an isolated pad as well, so it's just helping guide them away from your pad. I can see on the privateer there being some level of reassurance from using the single isolated pad on the starboard side. Again, these are ultimately these are extra small pads though. These are extra small pads. Skrill2 just subscribed. Skrill, thank you very much, giving you the 007 for that subscription. Thank you very much. Appreciate the support. Again, it goes a long way. Goes a long way. All right, here now, real quick, everyone. Let me catch up on a few things here. Red Samurai says, Grim, you need to stop making me want to buy this thing. Hey, look, here's what I'll say. I do not try to get anyone to buy any ships. As a matter of fact, I will point out flaws in ships. And this ship does have a few flaws that we'll get to. But what I do like to do is highlight everything about a ship, and then you can make a decision on whether you think it's worth owning or not. You know what I mean? Real quick, everyone, just moving some windows around here. Bear with me. So someone asked here, can I do the double salute? I can do the double salute, and there is possible. I think. There it is. The double salute is currently rocking along. What do you think of that? Oh, the Kraken just flew over. Jerdivis just subscribed for 4 months in a row. Thank you very much. Sure. Grim is VP of Marketing at CIG. That would be cool. I'd take that job. I would definitely take that job. Just adjusting some windows here, everybody. Bear with me for 1 second if you don't mind. I'm just pulling some windows here. Appreciate you all. All right, so here's a question for you all. Charlie McAwesome says the Kraken has 0 flaws, period. Subject concluded. I don't disappear with you. Or sorry, I don't disagree with you, Charlie. Sorry, I'm looking at another message that just popped up that said something about disappearing. So, I don't disagree with you, Charlie. I don't disagree with you all. Crampy Owl, thank you for that follow, sending the javelin overhead. Appreciate you. Manny says, watching Grim with these ships results in many dry wallets as they run out of tears. True. I cannot be responsible for your wallet when it comes to ships in this game. I just can't. I fell into the trap myself quite a bit, right? So I totally get it. Okay, moving back here. Now, staying with the exterior, here's so we've talked about the decks, right? We've talked about the decks. Now, Kavotha says Kraken flaw is that it's built by Drake. That will get you in trouble on this channel, Kavotha. You know that. You know that is uncalled for. Drake is the best manufacturer. Jeremy says, do you think the Kraken will have MFDs on the floor like the Corsair? You know, I think the Kraken's going to be a little bit more polished than the Corsair because this is going to be like Drake's pride and joy, right? This is like this is the thing that is like the company's flagship in a way, right? So we've talked about the decks though, but one thing we haven't talked too much about yet are the side hangers. I don't think, do I still have these modeled in or animated? Let me go to animation real quick. Yes, I do. So let's drag these over. Okay, there we go. And deep and go back to standard. Okay, so these are the hangar doors right here. As you see, they can open and close, right? There we go. Now, the hangars, here's my thinking on the hangars. Now, I proposed this to CIG one time and was met with, they thought it was cool, but I was told by Gavin Rothery, actually, the designer of the Kraken. For those who don't know, Starjump did an interview with him one time. It was really great. But I was told by him that there wasn't enough room internally to fit the transit needs that this would require. But one thing I was thinking that could happen here is that the hangars that are on the starboard side could be duplicated and put over here on the port side, so that you would have hangars on the starboard and hangars on the port. Now, it's not a perfect lineup. I get it. There's some geometry here that would be accounted for. But if you did something like this, you'd have to fix this here because there's a little bit of intersection, obviously. But if you did something like that where it had 4 internal hangars, it really doesn't screw up the ship's shape very much. Not that you couldn't adjust for. Or even if it just had a single one down there, just to up its internal hangars would really make this thing a monster carrier. And again, I think you could do it because I think the internal causeway here, the internal walkway and tram system that runs through here, it would just connect to the back of all 4 hangars instead of just the 2, right? Now, when I proposed this to Gavin Rothery, he said, he didn't go into detail, but he just kind of said, nope, not enough room. And what he could mean there is that internally, and I'll go back over, internally along this causeway here, where there's like a big corridor, there could be they could have plans for component access and stuff along this path. Now, yes, nothing's preventing them technically from putting 2 extra hangars there, but they may have already sort of factored in the current size of the ship, the life support needs, and where certain things are going to go. Where for example, the components those are actually physicalized, so these could be like a component wall in here for all we know. So again, you could definitely do it. There's nothing obviously in reality preventing you from doing it, but I think CIG was just like, no, there's not enough room because maybe they have other plans for that causeway, right? Draco says, is the Kraken getting a full white paper redesign? No, I don't think so. I think it's just getting rethought internally primarily. So the next thing I want to talk about, so that's the hangars. That's something to think about. I think its cargo area is already really good. So for those that don't know, there's a big elevator right here, a big giant elevator that goes to the ground, and that gives you access to the cargo area. And this elevator, I have measured it. This elevator is from my estimation, this elevator is big enough to do like 4 Nova tanks at the same time. It's like a big elevator. So I think they're good there. I don't think any additional changes are needed there. Now the only thing, we're going to go inside for this one, everyone. Let me find that. Let me find this because the next thing I want to talk about requires me to bring up an image. Where is it? Okay, here we go. But the last thing to talk about is the Dragonfly hangar, and essentially where that spits out is right around this area. This thing here is some sort of door or some sort of system that opens, and when that opens, it gives you access to the Dragonfly Bay. Now, what I think needs to happen there, instead of being a top thing, I think the Dragonfly Bay needs to move under here, and I think there needs to be an exit underneath the ship for Dragonflies. That way, if they want to exit out straight on the planetary surface, they can, but I think that needs to happen, right? What that would do then is free this up for something else, okay? And what we're going to do for that is I'm going to go to... Bear with me, I'm bringing up something here. Well, I'm bringing up something if I have it. I may not have it. I thought I had a cutter model, but I may not. Do I seriously not have a cutter model? What's going on? All right, I don't have a cutter model on me, but what I think is this should be a cutter hanger. Mounted right back here. I think that would be really, really cool. That's what I would like to see. And if not a hanger, well, actually, I think I'd like to just see a hanger, and I think you could sort of build that into the back here. So, you know what? Let's actually do that because we need to see how big the cutter is, right? Let's go ahead and just download the cutter model from the pledge store. This will just take a second. If y'all don't mind waiting real quick here. I guess I should have had this prepped, but I wasn't prepped, okay? It happens. What can I say? It does happen. Okay, there is the hello viewer. Bear with me, folks. I am looking for the model on the website. So they changed, by the way, they changed how the models are displayed on the website, which isn't great because it kind of messed up my whole system. Kind of messed up my whole system. Oh, there it is. There it is. Got it. Okay. Got it. And put that in there. And then this is any convert. I have had people, by the way, ask me in the past how you download ships. That is something I can show one day. I've showed it a few times, but here we go. Okay, so I have the cutter now. Obviously, the cutter to me is Drake's MPUV to some degree, so we're going to bring that over. Cutter as a Drake snub would be interesting. Yeah, I agree. I agree. So what we're going to do is grab the cutter. Let's flip it over because they always come in weird angles here. Okay, grab the cutter. Let's go back to our Kraken. I believe we're scaled correctly. I hope so. Oops, let me grab this. Go back to here. Okay, yeah. Yes, maybe? Is that scaled correctly? Seems bigger than I thought. What about you all? Does that look bigger than you thought? Let me see if we're scaled correctly here. Chat, how long is the cutter? Let's look here. Add ship. Let me go into Fleet Viewer and look. So the cutter's 20 meters long. Actually, a little longer than I thought. Okay, so if we do a cube and we do the y-axis as, or no, the x-axis is 20 meters long, and bring that up. Yep, that is to scale. Okay, so this is how big the cutter is. Yeah, the cutter's bigger than it looks. That is true. Yeah, you wouldn't want to have the cutter back here because it's like right in the line of the damn gun. So that is not going to work. So what we would really need is a smaller Drake ship, a new snub to come along with it. But the cutter is going to be really handy on the Kraken because you're going to be able to park this little guy anywhere. You know, you'll be able to like park it in the corners of the flight deck and stuff. So that's going to be pretty nice. But yeah, so I was wondering if a cutter hangar would go back there, but yeah, the cutter's just too big. They're not going to put a cutter back there so close to this gun as well. So that's not going to work. That's not going to work. Tilted Turtle says a command module. That'd be kind of interesting, right? Some sort of command module thing. I don't think. I mean, you would have to figure out where that goes, right? Where it would be connected. But if they were to do something crazy like that, because let's be honest, it's a little crazy. It's a little crazy. Let's go to the Ironclad. Let's go back to the Ironclad here. Let me bring up the Ironclad. Bear with me. Okay, here is that. But let's grab the let's grab the command module here. Let me group this. Oops, bear with me, everyone. Okay, and let's bring. I believe this is to scale as well. Okay, so if this is the command module to the Ironclad, the idea, the thing would be like, where does this mount, right? Like, where would you have this? You know, it'd be kind of interesting is if it was like mounted like over here on the side of the bridge or something. That would be kind of wild, right? Like if you had something that was more like mounted in here. I mean, we have this big piece here. I don't know what this piece is. It's just some greeble. But you have kind of a little bit of an empty space down here. Like what if there was a mounting system that allowed this to connect directly to the bridge and it just was always there, and then that way if you ever needed it, you could take it. I mean, CIG will never do that simply because they'll just say, well, the ships on the deck are what you would use for that. You know what I mean? But it would be kind of interesting. It would be kind of interesting. But that's how they refer to the Kraken. Let's see. Hold on one second. But yes, there it is. Let's go interior real quick here. Let's go interior. So we've talked a little bit about the exterior, some ideas. I was really hoping that cutter thing would fit in the back, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Doesn't look like that's going to happen very good. Okay, so let's go. I'm next going to bring up, let me bring up my folders here. All right, we're going to bring this up. Okay, so as you see, the interior of the ship has been thought out to some degree, but it's still pretty like sketched out. Probably, I guess you would call this white box or very conceptual white box stuff. And well, actually, probably not even can't even call it white box. It's very much just sort of a sketched interior. They have probably modeled this out though, but essentially. Right now, we have a lot of corridors. Now, John Crew did say there was a lot of extra room in the Kraken, and I'm not sure if he was referring to the main area here or if along this part of the ship. But even if you look like up in these areas and stuff, even though the ship does get much thinner up here, there really is a lot of room to play with. And now down here, I know is to accommodate for the landing gears. Let's see, did you? Oh, yes, there is a bottom turret. You're right. Thank you, Charlie. There is a bottom turret there that my model is missing. I'll have to add that. And you can see these two turrets here too. There's this one and this one. These are those two manned up and down turrets. So we do have a bottom turret there. That's great to see. But essentially, we know that they're going to give a medical room and all that stuff. Now, here, let's start with the Dragonfly Bay again, though, because I personally don't think we need a Dragonfly Bay this big. I almost think instead of holding the however many it holds, it could just hold half, and it can occupy this area, freeing up this one here to be a dedicated medical suite, like a large medical suite, because again, this is something I've said multiple times. I think the Kraken actually is the best sort of like hospital ship. You know, there's the Endeavor Hope, but I really think the Drake Kraken can make a great hospital ship, and because again, ships like the C8R, the Apollo, and stuff can just land right on the deck, take them down in an elevator, put them on the air car, boom, they're at the hospital. So it really makes a great platform for that. So looking at the cross section, though, we obviously have the bridge area. It's got a double-decker bridge. Mink says Grim leaving his crew behind to fend for themselves. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So we have a large bridge area. We have a crew room down here and habitation, break room. So this is all habitation down here. Obviously a captain's suite. I would love for this ship to get an XO suite as well, to be quite honest with you, if there is room for it. We have the planning room. Again, that is supposed to be a big deal in future ships with the hologlobes and stuff. They did say that was a 1.0 feature for sure. We do sort of an empty room right here that is not labeled. It's before you get to this man turret and right after the planning room. So there is a little room here that could probably be turned into something, maybe a medical suite. What do you all think? What do you think, besides a medical room, what do you all think the Kraken needs that it doesn't have inside of it? Like, so in terms of rooms, what do we think the Kraken needs? Armory, hot tubs, module room. Yeah. All great suggestions. So armory, it's definitely going to get. This ship will get an armory for sure. Primarily just for borders. And I would love if the armory is somewhere down in this area, so that people could get outfitted with guns and stuff to run down these corridors, because this is where the majority of the entryways into the ship are, including its big airlocks, which are right here, where this little piece is right here. This is the airlock, and that's on both sides. So I think this is where the ship has the most vulnerabilities to boarders. You know, they come, they land on the deck, they go into these doorways. So I think having armament there, or armories there. Glitchtronic, thank you for that $20 donation. Salute to you. Appreciate it. I think that would be really, really great. Riggsy says, what happened to the shops? This is the Kraken. You're talking about the Kraken Privateer. Different variant of this ship. Different variant of this ship. Citizen Deck says, Grim, what about air traffic control? How do ships come and go? Will it be automated or player controlled? Well, for player controlled ships, it's going to be player controlled. But I think the big question is, will they be able to use some sort of auto landing sequence? We don't know. We don't know that. That'll be interesting, though. But yes, obviously medical room, armory. So those are two rooms that are a must-have. I think an exo room for a ship of this size would be really great. Another one that I think a ship of this size should have is a brig. It needs to have some, even if it's a moderate-sized one, but I think it should have a brig. I think it should have at least 6 cells, and then possibly storage for bounty hunting containers. The little pods for bounty hunters. I think that should be a must-have for this ship as well. So what is that? That's armory, medical, brig, exo quarter, maybe. That's a little bit of a luxury, but I think those three are big. For air traffic control, let's see, Charlie McCall says the 2-layer bridge is for air traffic. The forward lower will be flight deck control. That's how it's done nowadays on carriers. Okay, so maybe they'll separate like that. The way they got these seats is kind of interesting. I am worried CIG is going to change the way this bridge is designed and laid out. I personally hope they do not. Struts and things like that do not bother me. It just makes me feel like I'm in a giant ship. So personally, I hope they do not change this. But it's my biggest worry right now with the Kraken is I'm worried CIG is going to change the bridge area in a way that most people will like, but I will not like. Again, if we tour through here, by the way, you'll find areas like this that just say corridor. But that's a pretty big corridor, right? So you'll see areas like this that these will all get used for something, right? You can see over here, there's lots of little empty pockets. They could fill this up with different rooms, medical rooms, armories, all that kind of stuff. I do own a Kraken, yes, I do own a Kraken. It was the first capital ship I bought. It was the first capital ship I bought. There is a cafeteria. There's what they refer to as a break room and a crew room. So this level here is sort of habitation and crew area. They could expand that. We do have the captain's room as well. So again, there's like this weird pocket room right here that, again, some of this stuff is not very clear in terms of what it is. And I think that's the big thing is that when the Kraken does go into pre-production, remember how when the Polaris went into pre-production, they did a full reconcepting of its interior? And we saw that cutaway. I think it was in the ISC called Finding the North Star. Remember we saw that cutaway that showed the new interior layout. And even that changed a little bit when the ship got into production, but that's sort of what we're going to get with the Kraken. They're going to do a full interior pass on this, figure out everything it needs. Green Shield says, any art from inside the cockpit? Yes. Let me bring that up, actually. That might be good to go over as well. Let's go ahead and bring that up. Let's go ahead and bring the ship page up here. I'm going to switch this back over for a second. Here is our Kraken. Let's go through some of the images. Oh, the ship value is actually listed 1650. Interesting. Oh, because you can get it in the packs. So let's go back to there. This, oops, well, that's off. Let's go find it. This is the bridge of the Kraken, for those wondering. You can see the double-decker layout. There's the forward seats and the rear seats. This bar right here, this big strut, which is not actually a strut, it's actually the section that connects the two levels of the bridge, but it actually extends out. This is what I'm really worried they're going to change, and I hope they do not. I don't want a strutless window. I like the struts. They make me feel like I'm encased in a very large, imposing ship. So again, I really hope they don't do that. But we'll see. We will see. That's probably my biggest concern, though. But that gives you a little bit of that bridge gameplay. There's another image from the bridge. This one. This is another image from the bridge. Now, this is the lower bridge here looking out onto the flight deck. And this is what's really cool about the Kraken. Out of all the ships that have cool bridges, okay, and there are some cool ones. Pioneer, Javelin, Idris, Perseus. I think we could probably all agree. I think most people can agree, even if you don't like the Kraken, it's probably got the coolest bridge. Because not only are you looking out over the ship, but you're looking out over active flight deck operations, right? Ships coming and going, right? So 100% for me, the Kraken, whether you like it or not, wins prize for best bridge location. And there's lots of ships that have the bridge further back. Hefe says Galaxy. Yep, Galaxy, Perseus, Idris, Pioneer. They have bridges that sort of look out over those ships, right? But yeah, absolutely, Ender. You're going to be definitely the air boss on this ship for sure. But yeah, I think that Kraken obviously wins for that. I can go around to some of the other interior shots, though. These are those side hangars. So you see the hangar here with the Buccaneer in it, and you can see a doorway here that leads to another connecting hangar. Those are the two lower hangars, those internally closed hangars with the doors that open that I was showing you. Those are those two hangars, okay? Continuing our tour. You can see here the big landing gears of the Kraken. For those that have been were curious what the landing gear system looked like on the ship, that's what it looks like. Let me go forward here. Okay, let's start over. This is the Dragonfly Bay. Now on the Kraken Privateer, this is converted into a closed high security storefront area. Those hangars will fit a cutter. Yeah, those hangars will fit a cutter. I tried it. This is the fuel room. So see these four big tanks. If I go back to this, where is it? If I go back to this, these are those four big tanks right here. So on here, it just looks like 4 tanks, right? But when you go back to the actual concept art, you can see that's actually 8 tanks here. These are the fuel tanks that provide fuel for the ships on the deck. Because remember, the Kraken can repair, rearm, and refuel. Very important to remember that. Again, that goes into the argument of this ship being a support ship, right? It is a fleet support ship, an industrial support ship. It's to me, it's made to enhance the capabilities of other ships. This is one of the internal causeways here, just sort of showing what an internal corridor in here would look like. I think this thing here, this like sort of looks like a rail. I think that might be the air car track, but maybe not. I'm not 100% sure because I'm not sure what deck we're on. But yeah, it looks a little bit like the air car path, but again, not totally sure. Let's go back. This is the internal main cargo area. Okay, so if I go back over to our main screen, this is this cargo area here that we're looking at. And this elevator, you see here how the cargo, there's cargo 1 and cargo 2. Cargo 2 is technically sitting on this area here where those guys are standing. I'll show you that in a minute. And there's a big elevator right here. There's a big elevator. Okay, so when I go back, remember this cargo 2 area right here? That is the platform that these people are standing on. This is cargo 2. Okay, that's cargo 1 down there. And there's a big elevator that goes down to the planetary surface. You can see outside right here. Okay. Continuing, you can see how big and cavernous it is. You can actually see a guy way back there on the image, very small. In the privateer, by the way, this is where all the storefronts are, and there's almost like a bar area and stuff all throughout this area. It's massive. This can hold, by the way, I forget the exact, is it 2,700, 2,700 something SCU of cargo? So it's a lot of cargo in here, a lot of cargo. About half what a Hull C carries in this cargo bay. Continuing on, this is an engineering room here. Looking back into one of the main engineering consoles in the engine room, which I really love. Again, I hope they bring some of this forward into the game as well. That's just showing a Kraken under construction, exterior battle with an Idris. Flight operations here, you can see the ships on the deck here being serviced by people. Once again, you can see that main deck is really sort of designed and situated around a Cutlass in terms of size, right? That's sort of what it's built around. Let's see here. And then we're back to the bridge images and stuff. So, let's see here. Hopefully I didn't miss any chats. I had windows up. We're trying. Riggsy says, whoa, that's some serious cargo management needed. Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're going to need a pretty big crew to operate this ship. Remember, this ship has a minimum crew listed of like 8 to 10, right? And that's literally just enough for someone to pilot and then operate the turrets. That's not taking into account security, which I think you'll need on this ship. Engineers, I think you'll minimum 2 engineers on this ship at all times. But maybe you want medical personnel. You may want some sort of air boss or ATC operator to be directing air traffic to the ship. I do think with a ship this big, you'll want some sort of communications person. That communications, Bluty says 3,700 SE. You think, okay, maybe 3,700. So, but you'll want someone operating beacons and stuff like that and running constant radar scans and scan waves and stuff to see who's inbound on your location. Because again, a ship this big is got a massive footprint. You are bringing a lot of people, a lot of ships on board, a lot of value. You're going to be a target, right? You're going to be a target. So important to remember that. So yeah, I think what we've laid out are must-haves, right? I think we need the armory. I think we need a brig for sure. I think all capitals need a brig. I think we need a big medical suite, not a small one, a big one, and possibly an XO quarters. Now the ship does have individual habitation rooms. You can see Buccaneer hab pods. There's one here, one here, one here, and one here. So for all 4 of those extra small landing pads on the starboard side, there's a habitation room for those pilots. For the 2 medium pads, there's also habitation rooms for them. You can see it says Cutlass hab pods times 4, so there's actually 4 pods for them, 1 for each crew member. And then there's some additional hangar hab pods down here, and those are for the internal hangars. So every ship that lands on the Kraken can get a room assigned to them. So they can store their stuff. You can, for example, if you're operating a Kraken, and let's say you're operating it as sort of a truck stop or sort of way station, you can actually have all those rooms stocked with food, drink, all that. So when someone comes along, requests landing on your Kraken, and you say, yep, sure, absolutely, and they come over to land on your Kraken, you give them permission, what have you, you can assign them a room, and that room can have food, drink, sustenance, all that kind of stuff in there. And again, you can charge them for that. Maybe you charge them for landing on the Kraken. You're going to refuel their ships. All that kind of good stuff. You'll refuel their ships. They can eat, drink, get their own actor status tier 2 stuff up, and then they pay you a fee for that. So I absolutely think there's going to be people that operate their Krakens in that way, where they're kind of like truck stops. So Lieutenant Draco says, how much different is the privateer inside? It is pretty significantly different. And I don't have that cross-section ready because I was really just sort of looking at the base Kraken right now. But what I can tell you is that in the cargo area here, you have stores. Actually, you know what? I might have that. Stand by, everyone. You know what? I do have that. What am I talking about? Bear with me, and I will bring it up real quick. There we go. Capital Life Support System. Oops, there's my voice. Let's bring this up. Let's go over to the Kraken. Okay, so we're looking at the individual rooms here. Again, if you've never seen my Shipyard video on the Kraken and you have an interest, I go into a lot of detail. I'll put the link there in chat. There it is for that YouTube video. This is my Shipyard Kraken video. So, okay. So this is the interior of the privateer. Now, in the privateer, there is private shops up here, so private shop storage and 2 private shops. You have more habs here. This is for guests coming to the store, so they've removed those fuel tanks. And then you have the shops down here. These are the shops open to everybody and the storage for those shops. So again, you do lose quite a bit, but it's more centered around the store kind of aspect. So that's kind of the interior of the privateer. So hopefully that kind of clears that up. But definitely look at that video, because that video really lays out, the full Kraken kind of walkthrough. If you ever wanted like a full deep dive of it, I highly suggest watching that video, because that one's very well researched. I went through it, laid it all out, all that kind of good stuff. So, everyone, I do have to run off to work, unfortunately. It's been a great stream, though. We've had a great turnout. I see VMXCO slide in the chat. That's awesome. Really appreciate all the follows and support, everyone. Had a great crowd today. 240 over on YouTube and 90 over on Twitch, which is incredible. I really appreciate it. We're going to find that... Let's see. Oops. We'll stand by, everybody. Stand by. Again, really appreciate all the support, by the way, everybody, not only in donations, but in follows and all that good stuff. Okay. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to send you over to friend of the show, real quick here. I want you to give him some Starjump love, all that good stuff. I want you to all have a good rest of your day. Ender will be doing D&D tonight, where he will give away the Amble Hawk. So make sure you watch that. It's going to be a lot of fun. For Invictus coming up this week, we do have a lot of content planned. Thursday night will be our day 1 show. We're going to cover everything that's going on with Invictus. We're going to cover the Grey Cat. We'll cover the ship sales. We're going to cover the limited hull sales. Maybe we'll be talking about the Idris P landing in people's hangars. If it does, I can bring it up in my hangar and we can tour it live, which would be really cool. So plan on that. Make sure you hit the thumbs up or the alert bell on that episode. Again, that'll be Thursday. It's currently slated for middle of the day, but I'll move it to that night. It'll probably be like 8:30 or so. But great, everyone, thank you very much. Going to send you over to Sigelia. Make sure you give him some Starjump love. Thank you for donating to our St. Jude Play Live stuff today. Really appreciate that generosity. Everybody, as Ender always says, do something kind for a stranger and spread the love, okay? So sending it over to Seg, give him that Starjump love. Everyone, have a great day. Talk to you later.